I've been blown away by the facilities. I probably wasn't aware our training camp in Florida was a cricket venue, and it was an amazing cricket venue and set up for success.
You've been to Cavender's Boot City to pick out a big cowboy belt buckle or a hat?
But the skipper, Sunil, I think he got along to the rodeo. A few of the boys, Davey Miller and Jace Roy and Josh Little, we're all keen to get along there.
Alex, I have to ask you, the elephant in the room for most fans, in the moment, did you think about the reaction that would happen?
We've got to get out a good player somehow, and in an Ashes you want to win, right? If there's a legal dismissal on offer, as a wicketkeeper you want to try to take them.
Hello and welcome to US Cricket Daily, your go-to podcast for all things Major League Cricket. I am Peter Della, and with me is Aaman Patel. In today's episode, we're going to mix things up a little bit by welcoming a special guest to the podcast. He's Australian wicketkeeper Alex Carey, who's part of the LA Knight Riders squad in MLC 2024. We talked with Alex about everything from what's on the menu at Chick-fil-A to finding the best barbecue in town, whether that's in Texas or North Carolina in Aaman's neck of the woods, as well as being part of the LA Knight Riders, his thoughts on the future of cricket in America, and by far the greatest stumping in the history of not just Ashes cricket, but all cricket.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Peter had to make sure he brought that one up. There was no way Peter was going to talk to Alex Carey without doing that. But we have to make sure we can't do this podcast, US Cricket Daily, without our association with Clyde Hill Publishing and its book imprints, Clyde Hill and Pulley Press, which are dedicated to founders, innovators, thinkers, and tinkers everywhere. Pre-order our book on the rise of Major League Cricket in America at ClydeHillPublishing.com. And you can also follow us at US Cricket Daily on Instagram, X, and TikTok. And you can watch our episodes on YouTube. Just search US Cricket Daily.
And if you want to get in touch by email to give us feedback on this interview with Alex Carey or anything else to do with Major League Cricket, just reach out at hello@uscricketdaily.com. Now, Aaman, Alex Carey, very, very interesting individual. There's no shortage of fascinating characters across all of Major League Cricket, and getting a chance to speak with Alex, we learned a lot of things. He's very into his coffee. That was a standout feature, and apparently the coffee in America does a lot of great things, but according to Alex Carey, coffee is not one of them.
Apparently not. He's asking for any recommendations. So if you got anything, shoot it to him in Dallas or in Warsaw, North Carolina. Make sure you shoot him something. But I've heard a lot from Alex watching the test, one of my favorite cricket programs out there, and it was cool to get this chance to sit down with him. So I'm excited for you guys to listen to this interview.
Alex, thank you for joining us on US Cricket Daily. You've been in the US now for a couple of weeks. What are your overall impressions of not just Major League Cricket, but the whole American ecosystem, whether it's cricket or other sports you've been able to experience so far?
Thanks. Firstly, thanks for having me on the show. First experiences are good. Yeah, so we flew in as a part of the Knight Riders into Florida. And we had 3 or 4 days there training, which was great. I think the heat was probably the one that surprised me. It's really warm and quite humid. And coming from South Australia this time of the year, it's quite wet, cold, and indoor training. So it was nice to get outside, get some sun, and then get back into playing some cricket. So first experience of the US it's good, and I'm sure you've heard it before. Hard to find a good coffee.
We talked about this off air. You're talking about hard to find a good coffee. I personally am not a coffee drinker, so I can't really go too much onto this topic. But what I am curious about is how much you've ingratiated yourself into American culture, whether it's in Florida or Texas or soon to be North Carolina. You haven't gotten to North Carolina yet, but you'll have an opportunity there to get a chance to visit Bojangles or Cookout. I know Aaman is very partial to Cookout. I'm curious, though. Have you been to Chick-fil-A, Whataburger, In-N-Out Burger? Do you have a preference so far in terms of some of the finest American culinary delicacies that we have to offer?
I'll write those places down. No, but I was with one of the local lads today, actually. We went out for a little look, but Chick-fil-A is apparently the number one go-to for a lot of the boys. So, that'll be me at some stage throughout the tournament, no doubt. But no, I think here in Dallas, a lot of Tex-Mex. So enjoying that cuisine, and everything is just on a bigger scale. We went to the baseball the other day, and the hot dog was the size of the table, and my drink was about 3 liters, and everything's bigger.
And you get free refills in most places, not inside a baseball stadium, but the free refills. You can't beat that in America.
You can't beat it. You probably don't need to go back after a couple of litres of your drink. But and I tell you what, just as I look over at my hat that I bought, Terry Black's. I don't know if we're doing shout outs to all these places, but the Terry Black's in Dallas barbecue. That's the best I've had by far.
I'm sure they'll appreciate that. What about Cavender's? Have you been to Cavender's Boot City to pick out a big cowboy belt buckle or a hat?
No, not yet. But the skipper, Sunil, I think he got along to the rodeo. So that's when we come back next time round. A few of the boys, Davey Miller and Jace Roy and Josh Little, we're all keen to get along there on one of the weekends. And I've got my RM William boots from Australia, which will fit in nicely.
There you go. Perfect. Speaking of fitting in nicely, you've obviously been practicing with all the domestic guys. What are your thoughts on them and what you've seen cricket in America?
Very impressed. And I think the success that they've recently had in the T20 World Cup has given, a lot of those boys in our squad that were a part of that a lot of confidence. And also the other players too, to strive to break it into that US T20 team. I guess the drive to continue to improve. And no, I've been very impressed with our local lads. Nidish and Unmak got a nice score the other night. Who was obviously disappointed not to be a part of that squad, but it's strong. It's so much depth. There's some really good players sitting on the sideline on the moment, and we got a really good balance. So excited to see how the tournament progresses, but I'm really excited by the look of a lot of our local talent, along with our overseas who are, we're jam-packed. It's great. Yeah,
what brought you to, obviously you weren't in season 1, what brought you here for season 2?
I think the excitement and the hype around playing cricket in the US. Firstly, what a cool country to play cricket in. It's new, and the quality of cricket is, I've been blown away. You've got 6 international players in each team who are quality international players, along with the US boys that we just spoke about who, there's competition for their spots in the team as well. So I think the excitement around the competition is, one, the quality is outstanding. I think the facilities here in Dallas have been great, and what I'm hearing in Morrisville, just as good. So a couple of Aussie curators, which always helps, but I'm just keen to see how it progresses. And look, it's a short tournament. So for me, sitting home in Adelaide, training indoors, to be part of this team, the opportunity given by the LA Knight Riders to, come and join and hopefully get a game soon. But if not, training outdoors during this time of year is valuable.
What did you know about American cricket before signing up with LA Knight Riders and before the World Cup? What were your kind of impressions, perceptions, if any, that you had before arriving, and how, if any, have those perceptions or opinions changed now that you've had a couple weeks to experience not just the Knight Riders squad, but American cricket culture in general?
Yeah, I think once signing with the LA Knight Riders, I started to look into, I guess, our team a little bit more and who we've got in our squad, which then, I guess, gave a lot more interest in the T20 World Cup recently. So you start to look at the boys and the names in that team, and you follow it quite closely. And then, for the US to break through into the Super 8s was, one, exciting for US cricket. It's exciting for international cricket, and will only grow the game bigger and bigger. But, I guess not a lot of understanding of what the boys do outside of, I guess, a World Cup or this tournament. So to speak to the local lads, obviously we've got a lot of boys that have come over. They've done their 3 years and they're now, US locals, and you got quality players and players that, I guess, from South Africa and and India and the West Indies that they're keen to do that, to migrate here and play and represent the USA. And it just makes it a lot stronger, firstly. But to hear how they, I guess, prepare, fly around the country, find little leagues to play in the US, it's not always available. And I've been blown away by the facilities. I probably wasn't aware. Our training camp in Florida was a cricket venue, and it was an amazing cricket venue. And I don't know how much cricket they play on it, but it's set up for success.
Well, you're probably lucky to be able to play cricket on there, because during the World Cup, 3 of the 4 matches got washed out. There's so much rain.
I know. And Josh Little was in our team. I think he sat there for 8 days and then rolled into the ground, and I think they got washed out. But we were training one day, and it was bucketing down all morning. Probably got to about 3 o'clock, scheduled 4 o'clock, and everyone thought it was cancelled, but it drained perfectly, and we got on, and we had our training session, and it just cleared up. So, yeah, the climate in, Florida, but I'm hearing Morrisville's a little bit wet as well, and some games, unfortunately, have been abandoned. But that's cricket. All the guys will crack on, and you can only play what's in front of you.
Yeah, Morrisville's usually not this wet. I'll give that disclaimer. But unfortunately, we've gotten a little bit of rain going. You mentioned the facilities. Grand Prairie used to be a baseball stadium. What do you think of it as a cricketing venue, like compared to some of the places that you've played in before? Where does it kind of fit on that tier list?
Yeah, it's a cool venue. I think the square itself looks immaculate. There's a lot of great grass coverage. And they've done a fantastic job there. And so, the pitch, the outfield is top drawer. I think it's really cool to have, some baseball characteristics still around. And, it's not the biggest in terms of capacity, but I think it holds a great amount to start off with, and hopefully one day we grow it bigger for demand. But it's it gives a great feel when you're at the ground. The sun sets in the first 10 overs, and then the lights come on. It's a great seeing venue in terms of the lights. You've got, I guess, at each end of the pitch, the sight screens. It sort of feels like if you can hit it over the sight screen, it's a home run. There's no seats behind there, and it sort of feels like you hit it out the park. And Andre Russell did that the other night. So, yeah, there's some small sort of, coming from Australia, you want to see a bit of American flair in it, and to have the old baseball stadium set up there, it's awesome.
I want to go back to how you got into cricket in terms of your professional career, because you didn't start off that way. You started off in Aussie rules football, playing for Greater Western Sydney Giants. And to me, this is something that I want to bring up because I come across so many families and so many young cricketers in America who specialize in cricket way too soon. And it drives me crazy because there's so many things you can learn from playing other sports, whether it's socially, getting a chance to play other team sports and just be around other kids and avoid burnout, and also just developing other athletic skills and getting a chance to experience new things. And there's so many benefits you can have to play other sports, and we see that in a lot of athletes in America. Patrick Mahomes is a great example. He's highest paid player in the NFL, multiple Super Bowl winner with the Kansas City Chiefs. His dad was a longtime Major League Baseball pitcher, and Patrick has said many times in interviews his first glove was baseball growing up because he wanted to be like Dad, and he didn't play organized American football until his junior year of high school. And now he's one of the best players in the NFL and on his way to a Hall of Fame career. And there's so many cases that you can point to like that in American sports. Guys grow up being 3-sport athletes in high school. They play football in the fall, they play basketball in the winter, and then they play lacrosse or baseball in the spring. You obviously grew up playing both Aussie rules and cricket before transitioning full-time to cricket. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, what are the things that you feel you gained by having that Aussie rules background and being able to play both sports for an extended period of time all the way through your teenage years before going to cricket full time? And what would you say if there's people out there watching or listening to this who are youngsters themselves, or families who have kids who are interested in cricket in the U.S. or elsewhere? What would you say to persuade them and convince them why sampling other sports and playing other sports and being engaged with other things through your teenage years as long as possible is beneficial rather than just specializing in cricket, and turning into a cricket robot?
Well, the contract of Paddy Mahomes is a pretty good one to go after. Look, I think for me, I play Aussie rules, as you mentioned, did your research, which is great. Have to teach you the rules of Aussie rules a bit more. It's a great game. In Australia, it's sort of, and where I grew up, it dominates the winter AFL, and then in summer, cricket dominates. So, and that was my upbringing, playing, backyard cricket, backyard footy with my older brother, through high school, and you move into clubs. And I love both sports, and I still love watching the AFL. But it gives you, one, great opportunity to meet new people, to work alongside other athletes, to see how other players prepare in different sports. And, cricket is pretty heavily backed into a mindset type of sport, and making sure that you've got your head screwed on correctly to go out and perform. And AFL is the same, but also has a lot more physical demand in terms of probably the amount that we run, how fast you run, and, the strength component to it as well. And to be able to experience playing, football at, a high level, taught me a lot of great lessons in how to, prepare and be a professional athlete. To then, unfortunately, at the time, it didn't quite work out the way I would have liked. I would, sitting here, moving into footy, I would love to still be playing footy, but it has turned out okay for me. It gave me some great opportunities, to take what I learned in the AFL system into cricket. And I think as well, if you play different sports, you have ups and downs in all different sports. You build resilience in bouncing back and understanding we're playing the game because we love playing the game. And as a kid, you're only playing it because you love it. And why does that change when you become an adult? We probably put a little bit too much pressure on ourselves at times. So, try not to forget why you pick up a baseball or, hopefully a cricket bat now, or if it is a football, you pick it up because you're interested. You're playing with your mates and you're playing it because you love it. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be doing it. So, it's a good opportunity to never forget why we play sport.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. Well spoken. And there's a lot of young kids coming out to these games, and you're seeing a lot of these fans come out. What's your interaction like, or what is your kind of just thoughts about these people that you've seen out there in the crowd? I've seen a bunch of guys in like American flag, like suits and whatnot. What are your just thoughts about the people in the stands?
Yeah, it's great. There's a lot of energy, and the players, and I did a lap around the ground the other night, and everyone's saying hello, and you're able to interact with them, which I think these grounds are a great size for players to be able to interact. Give out the autographs, thank the fans for coming along. A lot of purple was there, which is awesome, and we played the unicorns, and they had the bucket hats with the unicorn on top, which was cool to see. It's been great interaction. The fans have been, highly respectful, there to cheer and make a lot of noise and see some good catches and some fast bowling and some big hits. So it's been a great buzz. And I'm interested to see how it is in Morrisville, but all reports it's been some quality cricket firstly, which is great. But the fans have really embracing it, and hopefully another big crowd tonight.
Touch on something there that I find interesting. You use the word respectful to talk about the fans. One of the things that a lot of people enjoy about Major League Cricket compared to some other venues is how close they are to the field. They don't get that in a lot of places, especially you talk to a lot of Indian fans. They're used to going to grounds in India where you're almost behind some fencing, some caging almost like. And I've had many fans say to me they actually prefer Major League Cricket to an IPL match purely because they're so much closer to the field and they have an opportunity literally to interact with the players. There's not as much of an overbearing security presence. You can understand why that might be in India for various reasons because it's just so much more intense there and the players need a lot more security and protocol that goes into that. But in the U.S., it's different, not just on the field, but away from the field in some ways. You're allowed to decompress. I can't imagine you're being harassed on the street. You can leave your hotel and do what you want and be a normal person. And we saw Dale Steyn do just that during the World Cup. There was the viral video that happened when he went down to the fan zone at the World Trade Center, and one of the volunteers there was trying to teach Dale Steyn how to bowl, and he's just being very polite. He's like, oh, okay, I'll just put my arm over like this.
Yeah.
So those kind of things. At the venue, the appreciation the fans are showing you, but also being able to have some sense of normal life being around the U.S. that you don't necessarily perhaps get traveling to other cricket venues around the world. What have those things been like for you to experience?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And I think, like I said just before, the fans, you're able to have a bit of a chat with them and see where they've come from and who they're, supporting. And I guess ask a few more questions because, we're playing in the US. You probably want to learn a little bit more about the fans as well, of why they've come out, why are they supporting the Knight Riders as opposed to other teams because it's the second year running. So that's been great. And, you cruise down the streets, have a coffee, and no one's got – I think over here in the US, everyone's in their own little world anyway. So it's been nice to go down to the coffee shop, find a good coffee firstly and sit there and reconnect with back home and – away you go.
Just to follow up on that, one of the other things I found quite funny and fascinating about the World Cup and also Major League Cricket, definitely last year, and I'm sure it's carried over to this year, inside the ground, the police officers and the security that are near the teams, they're extremely interested in cricket. They want to learn. They're not the traditional stereotype of what is portrayed of Americans who are just disinterested in cricket. I don't have anything to do with that. I've seen so many players meet with the police officers inside the ground, and they can't get enough of hearing what the cricketers have to say. So I'm curious, have you had any interactions with Texas Rangers, not the baseball team, but the police officers on site, and what those have been like?
Yeah, probably not so much on site. I reckon going down and if you go shopping, and obviously the accent. So the accent raises the question of what are you doing here, and sort of ask a bit sheepishly, have you ever heard of cricket? Like, expecting not many people to understand or know the word cricket. And all of them do. Everyone, the people making the coffees or people behind the cashier at the shops, they all know what cricket is. And then you start to sort of talk a little bit more about it. And they're interested in learning the game because, well, one, I think Americans love sport, and as soon as they hear you come over from another country, they think it must be a big deal. And then you say Major League Cricket, and they're like, oh, wow. And then it grows from there. So, I think it's great to have all, Australians, South Africans, New Zealand, England, all players, representing around the world, branch out, speak their accent, and then it raises questions of what are you doing here? So it's been great.
Yeah, and Alex, this year a lot more Australians have come over into the league. What are your interactions with your team fellow countrymen on different teams? Is there some banter there? Are you guys able to interact at all, or is it kind of nope, separate teams for now? We're just staying apart. What's that like?
No, it's been. I think, and that's the other part about this tournament. It's super professional, and it's hard contested cricket on the field, but. It's nice to rock up to a game and give a hug to one of your other domestic players at your own state. Caught up with Jake Fraser McGurk and Matt Short and Josh Inglis the other night from Australia. A lot of the coaches in that team I've worked with. So to see the familiar faces, it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, it's been solid cricket, right? It's been really hard fought games of cricket, but to be able to see the faces that you see quite regularly over here, it's really cool.
Alex, I have to ask you, you're here, the elephant in the room for most fans, the Johnny Bairstow stumping, the most famous stumping perhaps in cricket history.
You brought that up, did you?
Not just Ashes history, cricket history. I feel like you should be on the Mount Rushmore of wicket-keepers just for that alone. I think it was brilliant. I don't know why everybody was so upset about it. The rules are there for a reason, Alex. Why would you have a rule in place if it's not there to be enforced? That's my perspective on it. I'm curious.
I'm with you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm curious, though, in the moment, did you think about the reaction that would happen, or were you just thinking, hey, Johnny Bairstow keeps wandering out of his crease, I'm going to try and get him out?
We've got to get out a good player somehow, and, in an Ashes you want to win, right? And if you can do it within the laws of the game, then I don't understand just why we cop so much for that. But again, the Ashes are the Ashes, right? And it's Australia versus England, and it was Lords pretty much erupting, and we got some instant feedback of they didn't quite appreciate the dismissal. But the 11 Australians on the field, we were, as you probably saw, we were pretty happy to get Johnny out and hopefully win that game of cricket. Thankfully we did. It actually set something off with Ben Stokes, and he went out and whacked him after that. So, but yeah, it was incredible. And as you might have seen, and for those people who haven't, the Test documentary is one to watch on Amazon. It's it gives some really good insights and pretty unfiltered, to be honest, of just the reaction and how it sort of unfolded after the dismissal. But going back to your point, if there's a legal dismissal on offer as a wicketkeeper, you want to try to take them.
Well, I had it on my DVR for more than a year. I only had to delete it when the World Cup began, and I had to record some of the USA matches. But it's one of my favorite cricket things I had recorded, and finally I had to delete it after having it on there for a very long time. So
I'm sure you'll find a copy of it somewhere. My Instagram every day, I reckon there's a message.
Looking back on it, I mean, the reaction and the, I guess, it's in English, they're so well known for being so polite and so proper and respectful, and the instant feedback, like you said, that you got, I think a lot of people were shocked by. Some of the stuff that's come out in the test, I mean, one of the reactions that I found quite funny is Pat Cummins. He just goes inside and he just starts eating his food. He just thinks like, "Oh, what's the big deal?" I mean, after having gone through it and all that, what do you think? If you can see the comedy element of it, what to you has been the funniest thing that you experienced, or the most comical element of all the reactions that you've come across?
Oh, there's a few stories I think that come out of it, and these are quite public now after the test has been released. It's firstly, Marcus Harris was the one who was sitting there, and I won't use the language, but basically said, "You guys wrote the rules," so that was a great one. And then I didn't go up for lunch on this occasion. I stayed in the change rooms and just had my little sandwich in the corner, and just to have a little moment to myself. And I think Davey Warner and most of the boys are up there having lunch, and in the Lord's dining room, you're basically sitting in the same table as the opposition. It's a gentleman's game there, and you sort of sit down, have your 3-course meal at lunch, and you interact a little bit with the opposition. But on this occasion, the two teams were pretty well separated, and there was a replay on the screen, and Johnny was up there, and he saw the replay, looked over at us, and started asking the question, "Are you blokes happy with that? Are you happy with that dismissal?" And Davey was just sort of cutting his food mid-bite, just said to Johnny, "Yeah, very happy with that," and carried on. And I think a lot of our boys were trying not to laugh, and I'm not sure what the English boys were doing, and so it was. But yeah, there's been some good stories coming out of it, and everyone sort of coped with it a little bit differently. And but as you mentioned before, Lords is normally the clap everyone off, clap everyone on. We appreciate your efforts. But on this occasion, it was not so much clapping.
Jason Roy give you any flack for that when he saw you in training camp?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
But nah, look, and that's the other thing is a lot of the unease of the dismissal sort of came through the social platforms, but in person, there's never been anything that's been negative against me.
What are your overall thoughts in terms of where you see the future of American cricket going over the next 4 years leading into the 2028 LA Olympics?
Yeah, I think it's hard to see where the game will end up. I was speaking to Shakib the other night. 10 years' time, I think this will be, don't know, like you sort of, it has the opportunity and the potential to be one of the bigger leagues around the world. It's a good time of the year. There's not a lot of, I guess, other franchise cricket on at the moment. The players that have shown interest already, you've got some of the biggest and best T20 players in the world. And then this USA cricket team and the success that they've had will probably inspire younger generations to pick up the cricket bat and ball and represent the country. So sky's the limit for the competition. If the opportunity was there next year, I'd definitely put my hand up to come back and be a part of it.
Just for the Olympics specifically, 2028, you'll be 36 years old at that stage. What would it mean to you to potentially...
I won't be there, but it's there's no. I think my proudest moment in cricket is when I represented my country, and now it's I don't lose that feeling of every time I walk out there with the baggy green cap on that I'm playing the game for Australia. I'm playing it for my teammates. I'm playing it for other cricketers that I played with growing up that didn't have the opportunity that I did to play for my country. So you're playing for a whole range of things when you put the country flag on and out there you go. And I think the Olympics, and for the USA team, I guess specifically, is they've had the taste of the Super 8 success, and they are a very passionate country. And what did we say? 4 years' time, 5 years' time, the growth. There'll be some opportunities for them to do well. As an Aussie, hopefully we get the gold medal, but no doubt this USA cricket team will continue to grow, and there's a lot of people as well. So, you think the talent and the amount of opportunities that the kids hopefully should get should grow some really good players.
Could you ever envision a time down the road, as Australia is going to be hosting in 2032, can you envision a time either then or further in the future where representing Australia in cricket at the Olympics would be seen as a bigger deal or a bigger honor than playing in a T20 World Cup or a 50-over World Cup or the Ashes?
I feel like probably have to separate white ball cricket and red ball cricket. So I think the Ashes has the history, and you speak to a lot of young cricketers now in Australia, and the passion to represent Australia in Test cricket is still very, very strong. However, the amount of World Cups and white ball games of cricket that are on will draw a lot of young players to probably focus more on the T20 opportunities. So I think, being a part of one-day World Cups in the past, they're just amazing opportunities. They're amazing tournaments to play a different team, to have different anthems, to have different crowds. I love tournaments, and to have the Olympics in there, which, I don't know, I guess we'll have the opportunity to grow its own history. You definitely want to be a part of it when it comes in. So, yeah, it'll be a pretty unique, pretty amazing experience to rather than, I guess, win some silverware, you want to win some goldware. And, it'd be pretty cool.
Where would a gold medal rank?
I think as an athlete, we're competitive and we play because we love competition. And then if you say to a cricket team, we want you to go and win a gold medal for your country, well, I think you're going to go and do everything you can to achieve that. So it'd be amazing. It'd be an amazing opportunity. It'd be like I said, new, but create its own history for a group of players to win that first gold medal. And then, who knows where the history ends up. But it's like, I think, the World Test Championship. It's only had 2 winners, but we won it last year. And that's one of my proudest moments, is to win a World Test Championship for your country. And although it doesn't have the long range of history behind it. For us, 11 or group of players that won it, we were, I dare say, just as excited if it did have 100 years behind it.
Well, there you have it from Alex Carey, Los Angeles Knight Riders Wicket-Keeper and Australian International. Thank you so much for coming on US Cricket Daily.
No, pleasure. Great to chat. It's been awesome, like I said, to be a part of this tournament, this competition, and hopefully, we can chat in 12 months' time and see it grow bigger and better.